Good lesson today to be learned from me. I say smart people learn from their own mistakes, and really smart people learn from the mistakes of others. Um, so I ripped up probably $1,500 in somebody else's idea in an NSR, and having a perfectly good day. That was up 2,000. BLT and RADA, and I think I made a little bit. I think actually, no, I didn't. I almost made money on SanDisk, and then I did, and then I gave it all back. But the reality is that when you are on a prop desk, you are going to have access to other people's ideas, and that in of itself is a trade. Having access to somebody else's ideas is a trade, and you are going to have to learn how to take them and be profitable, take them and control your risk versus reward. And if you take somebody else's idea on the desk, say Shin says, get short SCTY, and you listen to that idea and you get it and you lose $1,500, I want to be very clear about what you've done. When you listen to somebody else's idea and then you take the trade, that becomes your trade. That's not her trade. That's your trade. Okay? You have decided that you like her information. And you have decided to call a plan B to your roadmap for the day and add somebody else's information. Some traders will be very, very good at that. People who tend to be more social will be very, very good at taking other people's ideas and turning them into profitable trades for them. Other people will be terrible. There are seven-figure traders who refuse to be distracted by anyone else's thoughts but their own. I actually was at dinner in Albany talking to a pretty good retail trader who has been quasi-mentored by somebody who is a seven-figure trader. And this person does not listen to anyone else on Twitter, on StockTwits, anywhere. They just don't, they're not interested because it gets them in a pretzel. So, you have to figure out whether or not I like taking other people's ideas. That sort of fits my personality. I don't like to do things by myself. But there might be, there might be one person in here who just is like, it just messes them up. So, I think of it as I'm getting more information, I'm getting more opportunities, and now it's up to me to figure out which information to use and which not to. And there can be a learning curve. I mean, each guy calls things out differently. Like we know Merritt is probably more into technicals. We know that I tend to short more than other people. We know Spencer tends to get long more than other people. We know Spencer tends to trade more of the market stocks than other people. We know Han wouldn't get long a stock if it was 1997. Let's face it. Okay? He's incapable of getting long anything. That's not true. But he's a bear. And so, we know Swang is not going to hold anything for a long period of time. We know Nate is just like not interested in reading the tape. There are lots of guys who make money reading the tape. You can't convince him that reading the tape is useful no matter what you did. He's just not interested. So everybody, Memo is all into inefficiency trades. hit and go, hit and run, hit and go. So there's different ways that people can make it. So, you will have access to different ideas, and it's up to you at the end. One of the things you can't do is you can't get mad at somebody for offering an idea. Unless they say something that's really wrong, then you have to correct that. But if somebody offers an idea and you take it, that's the way it is. And over the, you want to track that. Are you making more money on other people's ideas, or what's going on? All right. One of the trades that I want to mark up is APOL from yesterday. I want you guys to do that as a group. So I want you to take some time today to, if we can do it, I don't think we can probably do it later, but let's do it Friday. And who's going today? You're going today? Oh, you're doing a repeat?
Repeat.
Okay, good. So you guys figure out, so you can be the team leader. Let's figure out how to do APOL from yesterday as a trade. And let's make a big deal about it. Let's make sure we dig deep into the intraday fundamentals. Why was it so weak? Was there something about the intraday fundamentals that made it so weak? Was there something in the report that we really need to go over? Was there something about where it was overall in its 52-week chart or its longer-term chart? Why was it so easy? Why was it so clean to the downside? What was it about that trade? Did the market have an impact on it? Let's come up with some answers. We'll say something about those stocks, which is they're not trusted very much by the marketplace. They have a history of going up and down. They've been accused of cooking the books in that sector in the past. I'm not saying specifically APOL, but the education space. There's been some pretty big trades where people were making up students and getting student aid in a way that was a little bit sketchy. So maybe that had something to do with it. So we'll sort of see what happens there. All right, so we have a 12:30 and we have a 1:30, and we're going to have another 1:30 on Friday, right? Okay. So well, we'll talk about that at 12:30. Okay, any questions?
I guess one question.
Yeah.
On the way you receive idea. For instance, if I take my example, so that I'm not good at taking on people ideas, but I need obviously to figure out my own technical analysis to it. So I guess I receive it, I look at historical levels, I look at where is for me the best risk reward, and I decide whether or not if I'm going to take the trade. What happens most of the time is that obviously the idea comes and I missed the move because I take like 5 minutes to look at what's happening. So I'm probably slower than I should be. But that sometimes that does comfort me, on the fact that obviously with my IDs I'm ready to enter when I have proof. With others' ID I'm not ready. I need to prepare, and I go ahead F. But most of the time, probably 80% of the time, I'm not in. A few times then when I decide, okay, that looks like great level right now, I'll do my analysis. Generally, I lose money. So I guess the question is it? It depends on the person, depends on how fit you are and how fast you are to do your analysis. But do you have any recommendation on that particular?
I think the hardest part is when it's somebody else's idea. You don't have as much confidence in the idea, and when you're right, you don't make as much money as you should have. And so I think that's sort of the hardest thing. For an intraday trader, you do have the advantage if you know how to read the tape where you can kind of get into something, and if you are not biased, you can gather a lot of information. For instance, this NSR. So they're losing a contract. Okay? What should that look like? I mean, if you're that's a breaking news play, right? So somebody else's idea, get into NSR. Okay, we get into it. We get into it late. But what should happen in that trade? It should just tank. It should just tank. And when it doesn't tank, you know, you sort of have a responsibility to say, hey, I'm seeing that this isn't really that weak. Let me sort of get out of it.
So I guess your priority was the instruments.
I think there's two things. I think one, when you get in, you've got to make sure you still sort of are unbiased about the position. And secondly, if you get in and it really starts to work, and you're going to take somebody else's idea, you do have to sort of trade the trade. You do have to make the real trade. Like for instance, if I got in that NSR and we got into a breaking news play and I got in late and I thought it was going to tank and I cut it a point into the move, that's an example of not really trading that trade very well. If I got into it, it started to really work, and then I created a bear flag and I didn't get bigger, that's an example of I'm not really taking the person's true idea. I'm taking like parts of it. And then I think, you know, when it's not your idea, when you haven't made it your own, it really is hard to stay in it and hard to get bigger in it. So you want to think about that when you're getting to somebody else's idea. But look, if you don't have time to get in and do the analysis that you want to do, I don't really care sometimes. Like I feel like I can get in and kind of figure it out to a certain extent.
I guess you have to have some automatism. For instance, let's say somebody called a breakout. So there was a bullish flag at the high of the day, for instance, and you call a breakout. You can see this in the chart. So you enter in and then you play your tape. And let's say if you think, okay, I'm for a breakout like this, it's supposed to go up rapidly. If within the next minute or so, it hasn't gone to that level, is there a reflex for you just to say, okay, 1 minute, I'm still testing those levels? It's not a real.
Yeah, I mean, I think at a minimum, you got to get out of at least some of it. At a minimum, you got to get out. So I hit that Weight Watchers today too, off of somebody else's idea, and it just wasn't working. And I was able to get out of most of it at 17 before it had a move up. And so I lost a little bit of money, but I would have got crushed if I didn't get out of it. I think I was short 4,000 shares around 17, and I was like, this doesn't look right. And I started to hide my orders and get out, and I got out of most of it. And I lost a little bit of money. I didn't get out of all of it, but I was able to get out of it 3,000 shares, and then the rest at like 6 cents and 11 cents. So I was honest with myself as to what was going on. I don't know that I really was with that NSR. I think I probably should have lost like $800 or something like that. I'm done with it. I don't know why I lost that. $1,500 just strikes me as just being stupid. It's not really that. And there was just so much buying at 22. It was so strong. And even when it got below 22, I mean, you just see it was going to go up. I actually was verbalizing this. Just the way that it wasn't going down the way a negative breaking news story happens. It was just they were making a market below 22. They were buying too much on the bid. They were buying 90 cents and 80 cents and 75 cents, 70 cents and 65 cents, and there was no offer. There was nobody on the offer, and you could just see that they were just buying it. They were buying it down, and they were just going to squeeze this thing through 22, and you were gonna rot with it on the short side. So you know, if you were really honest with yourself, you just would have got out at 65 cents and just been like, all right. not working.
So I guess it's the right thing to develop this type of automated way for IDs. For instance, you say for a breaking news play, you know, my trigger has obviously the ID, amount F, and you know, automatically you think statistically is good, or tested this statistically to work better than just going in and pilot with the instruments.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on each trader. Some you want to measure. So some people are going to be good at it, some people are not. All right. Talk to you guys later.